Hey guys, it's me, Pre, aka that Pokemon Boy, and today we have a guest with us.
Hey guys, how's it going? It's Macadii.
Um, in case you don't know who Macadii is, he is a PokeTuber like me, but he does way better videos than I do. Go check him out, his link will be in the description below. Today we're going to be discussing the Landorus Incarnate Suspect Test.
Yeah, definitely. I must admit, it came as a bit of a surprise to me. I've personally never had a problem with Landorus. In pretty much all my experiences of OU, especially in this last gen, it very rarely turns up, and as I said, I've never really had too much of an issue with it. So it was a surprise to me when it did, this suspect test did pop up.
Yeah,
I don't know how you felt about that.
I saw it coming in the sense that I knew something had to be banned, because right now it's pretty much, if you don't have a check for Landorus Incarnate, Clefable, Mega Altaria, Keldeo, and Metagross in your team, you're pretty much going to lose every game.
Yeah, I would also extend that list to Mega Slowbro as well.
Oh yeah,
I think that's just an absolutely incredible threat. Like, especially with the IEP and everything like that. I must admit, I spent a lot of time trying to get a counter for Crowbro, and that was almost impossible. I must admit, there's only a few things that can actually muscle their way around it once it gets a few calm minds up. But yeah, we'll move back to Landorus Eye.
Well, the thing is, right, out of all of them, Landorus is pretty much the only one that can take all of them one-on-one. And also the issue is, like, you look at its stats and you're thinking, okay, it's not got great speed. The Rock Party set, that can absolutely annihilate so many threats in this tier, like Rock Party.
I do appreciate that. Yeah, I think it is quite weak to common sort of priority moves as well, though, which I think does definitely let it down. Sort of Aqua Jet, Ice Shard, that sort of thing.
That's true.
I must admit, I'm surprised Mamo has dropped in usage, considering it's a really, really good check to it. I wouldn't say it's a counter personally, but with that, with the Ice Shard, I'm surprised that it isn't as popular as as I would expect.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I think maybe, obviously, it kind of happened in conjunction, because as soon as Mamu dropped down, Landorus Incarnate got even better, because now people are going to use Mamoswine less and less. Like, I've never seen so many Weavals in OU before, and that's just because you can have the Ice Shard to take down Landorus Incarnate.
But it's quite surprising when you look at the usage stats to actually how Landorus T is actually used. Well, I think it's the most popular one in OU as far as last time I saw, and I'm surprised that no questions have been raised about that, whereas it's this one that seems to be causing everyone the problems.
I can understand that, because the thing is, right, even though Landorus Therian has more usage, that's mainly because of the role Landorus Therian plays.
Yeah.
Because Landorus Therian, the reason it's used so much is because it's so important to take on things like physically offensive Mega Altaria, Mega Metagross, and to a lesser extent Chansey as well, not Chansey, sorry, Clefable as well. Because if you can stop Clefable from setting up, that's really important. So I think maybe that's why Landorus Therian has a higher usage stat.
Yeah.
But yeah, back to Landorus Incarnate. I mean, when you take into consideration the sheer amount of coverage this thing has, it's insane.
No, I do completely appreciate that. But then, as you're saying, how it's a excellent check to so many other Pokemon that are potential threats, doesn't eliminating this then cause those threats to sort of spiral into sort of they're going to be even harder to break once we lose Landorus Eye, and that's my worry, especially with obviously Landorus Eye works really, really well against the Venatran core, which I'm a big fan of, and with the combination of Earth Power and Psychic means it can actually handle those two threats, whereas actually once it's gone, off the top of my head I can't think of too many Pokemon that can actually really sort of muscle past that as easily.
Yeah, no, that's true. Like, the Calm Mindset, as you were saying, the Calm Mindset really does take apart the Venatran core, where it's the Life Orb, Sheer Force, Calm Mind, Earth Power, Psychic, and then Focus Blast. So obviously you have the Focus Blast and the Psychic, Focus Blast for Heatran, and the Psychic for the Mega Venusaur, and then
also
Earth Power
as well,
great stab as well. So it works really well.
Yeah, which, as I said, if once that's gone, I honestly can't think of too many things. The only one I can think of is Latios, but even then, that's got to struggle to get past Heatran and relies on the fact that it can't recover. It's going to take sort of several turns where it's going to have to switch into Draco Meteors and Psyshocks to actually then muscle past that course. So that's one thing I am a little bit worried about.
Yeah, and I think also considering Mega Metagross was tested and, you know, controversially they didn't ban it. Now, when you think about the Rock Polish set, the Rock Polish set is a perfect way to take down Mega Metagross. Now, if Landorus Iconic was to be considered Uber, like if it was banned, you don't have a Rock Polish set, and then again Mega Metagross becomes a big problem. Yeah,
definitely.
And
I can't see any other way. Obviously Smogon aren't particularly keen on complex bans and things like that, so I don't know how you would be able to sort of bring it back. The only way I could suggest would be to sort of not allow it to have a life orb, but even then, I think that's far too complex for them. They'd be far better off just banning it, to be honest.
Yeah, and the thing that a lot of people forget, it does have base 125 attack.
And access to knockoff as well.
And access to knockoff. Effectively, like, you know, you look at its moves, Earthquake, U-turn, knockoff, Stone Edge. Between the four of them, you can get yourself a nice little Scarfer. This potentially it could be an even better Scarfer than Landorus T, in the sense that it'll hit harder. Not hit harder. It'll move quicker, and that's the thing where this comes in, because you don't really. I mean, you see less physical Landorus Incarnates these days, but you don't really know for sure if they're special or physical until they attack you.
Yeah. I find sort of the way I always look at them is they remind me a lot of sort of an OU version of a Nidoking, and I think what's the inherent problem with Nidoking and sort of the Sheer Force Life Orb sets is that they are actually sort of quite predictable. I know it has a range of moves, sort of, you know, moves that it can use, but at the end of the day, you know, sort of 9 times out of 10, you know that it's Sheer Force Life Orb, and if you've got any Pokemon that's got more than 101 speed, then you're almost guaranteed to outspeed it. And while the Scarf set does surprise people, like obviously I have seen Scarf Nidoking around, it just doesn't perform as well because it doesn't hit as hard, and the whole point of it is that it hits hard as a wall breaker and also has the chance to sort of change around its moves to actually prevent anything from really walling it. And I think because of that, Landorus I is almost limited to only being able to run with the Life Orb for it to be sort of, the most viable.
No, that's definitely true. But even with Life Orb, you have Life Orb 4 attacks, Life Orb Calm Mind, and then Life Orb Rock Polish, all of which can perform different roles.
Yes, yeah, I do agree with that.
And when you consider Rock Polish double the speed, so effectively this thing can outspeed pretty much all relevant non-boosted Mons in the tier. Like even Excadrill in the sand can't outspeed a Landorus after a Rock Polish.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And also, I don't think it can actually do a huge amount to it as well. Obviously, I think probably its best move will be Iron Head. Thinking about it, which I would almost guarantee won't be a one-hit KO.
No, it wouldn't. That's
especially from full. So I think you do have to rely a lot on priority and things like that, and it's obviously with Ice Shard and things like that, if you bring in a Weavile on a Landorus, it's incredibly obvious what you're going to be going for, and to be honest, you also can't afford not to go for the Ice Shard and over-predict, which they can very easily just switch it out and preserve it for the next one, and because Ice Shard's relatively weak, it means you can bring most Pokemon in on that Weavile and then be able to, relatively comfortably.
That's true. And that's the thing, obviously, because you have to also remember, if you stay in and that Weavile over-predicts, Focus Blast is definitely going to kill.
Yeah, definitely. I think almost any move. I imagine Earth Power would definitely KO as well.
Actually, yeah, that's a good point. After Rocks, I'm sure.
I don't have the calcs with me, but I could definitely see that happening. And also, obviously with Ice-type Pokemon, they have to they worry about rocks and things like that. So that's why they're not particularly popular up in OU, because of the prevalence of having Stealth Rocks up. So in my book, if you've got to bring up sort of NU or RU Pokemon just to be a specific counter to a specific Pokemon up in OU or UU or something like that, then it is sort of tending towards the over centralization of the metagame.
Exactly, because as soon as you have to have one Pokemon just to check or counter even another, it's really it makes for a restrictive team building as well.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think obviously with taking the IEP into consideration, that's a tournament obviously both of us are a part of. I don't think Landorus is as big as a problem in the IEP, because obviously you can plan for it, so you can come up with a strategy to take it on. But in a like laddering thing, like like Pokemon Showdown, like Smogon, it's a lot harder to know whether or not you are gonna have Landorus. And the thing is, Weavile isn't great against a lot of things. So if you bring Weavile just to take on Landorus and your opponent doesn't have Landorus, a lot of the times that Weavile can be next to nothing in terms of usage, and it's like having 5 Pokemon in that case.
Yeah, I completely agree with that.
So
I guess the only other Pokemon that I can think in OU, I haven't got the calcs on me as I said, but Azumarill would probably be the only other one, which you can't even switch in, because if you get it wrong and get a Sludge Wave to the face, I'm pretty sure that will KO as well.
Yeah,
I'm making some quite broad guesses,
now.
but yeah, if you could get the calcs up, that would be good. But I'd be interested to see if an Aqua Jet from an Azumarill, whether it's choice banded or not, will actually be able to KO from there.
Choice banded,
it won't be able to.
Can't kill with Aqua Jet.
Blimey.
Unless after rocks it can.
Hmm.
But even after rocks, it's only got a 56% chance to do so.
Yeah, that's quite surprising.
Yes, it is.
I guess there's also the life, the lack of life orb recall as well. He's not actually going to be worn down to a point where you would be able to do that. But I must admit, I'm quite surprised by that calc.
Yeah, so am I. But like you said, with life orb, I think the biggest thing here is because of sheer force. Not only do you increase longevity, because obviously life orb doesn't take the 10% away each time, but you're getting more damage done as well.
Yeah.
But if we look at Sludge Wave, I mean that's a guaranteed OHKO against Choice Band Azumarill.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So with all these things taken into consideration, let's hear your verdict. Do you think ban or not ban on Landorus Incarnate?
It's really difficult because obviously, as I said, from my personal experience, I've never really had a problem with it. I've used it before and it has worked really well, but it's never been this sort of completely overpowered thing. It's an absolutely excellent wall breaker. My worries would be by banning it, you end up with some of the threats that it checks will become more prevalent or even harder to try and check, especially Mega Metagross.
Yeah.
I think the prevalence of the Venatran core will definitely be increasing, and sort of that's going to become a lot more threatening. So I'm kind of against banning it, but I do understand the reasoning why it should be banned, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that does make sense. Personally, I think they should ban Landorus Incarnate. I understand that it is an important check and an important counter to certain mons in the metagame, but my thinking is if they're an issue once this is gone, then they should be banned as well. Because I don't agree with having 3 or 4 broken mons just because they take care of one another. If anything, it makes more sense to ban all of them rather than leave them in this metagame. Because right now there is a heavy focus on mons like Mega Metagross, on mons like the Venatran core, like you said, and on Landorus. Now, unless we get rid of one of them, we can't really move away from this metagame where we're focused on 2 or 3 mons.
Yeah. No, I do agree with that. I think that's the problem. It's going to have to be all or nothing. Yeah, I really. Agree. It's I can't see any way actually around that.
Okay. Yeah. So, guys, let us know in the comment section below what you think. Do you think Landorus Incarnate should or should not be banned? And if you have a reason for that, then that would be great as well. One last thing, make sure you do go check out Macadii's channel. Like I said, link will be in the description. It'll be pretty much the first link. So go click on that and make sure you subscribe to him as well. I think, have you got a stream coming on Friday?
Yeah, there will be one where I'll be making a Mega Sceptile, making a Mega Sceptile team at 7:30 UK time in the evening on this Friday evening, which should be good fun. I'm having a go at going for a Swords Dance Mega Sceptile, which I think is going to be really good fun.
That sounds pretty interesting because it has got a
we'll
nice
have to see.
Yeah. So guys, make sure you check the stream and then subscribe to him as well. But for now, you've reached the end of my video. To show my thanks for you watching the whole thing, here's a picture of Jesus riding Arceus.